Welcome to RE Uncut, presented each day by Pricefinder, Rockend and Printforce. Now, here's your host, Kevin Turner.
This morning we're looking at great ways to increase the yield on your rental property, and Margaret Lomas is my guest from Destiny Financial Solutions. Have you got another gem for us, Margaret?
Well, look, I do, but this one is a little offbeat, and I want people to be very, very careful of this one, but I have seen it work in some cases. This is where you have an investment property that you know is in a market that presently has a fair amount of tenants available. This is where you have the kind of investment property that you know is always in demand, and you don't have to worry about periods of vacancy. One of the things that tenants don't like quite so much about renting is the fact that if suddenly they want to move somewhere else, if they're stuck into a long-term lease of 6 to 12 months, they might not be able to get out of that lease quickly enough to respond to some itinerant needs that they might have. I've seen some people with properties in areas where they're pretty confident about getting tenants, put their tenants on a month-to-month lease in return for a slightly higher rent return to pay for that privilege.
Okay.
Now, doing that, the tenants got the confidence that if something happens, they can move fairly quickly, but they're paying a little bit extra for the privilege of not being locked into a lease. You know, if you offer someone a long-term lease, normally in order to encourage them to sign that lease, you like to drop the rent a little bit to keep them. This is kind of that theory in reverse, where if you're quite confident of the rental market, you know the vacancy's low, and I always check my vacancies on sqmresearch.com.au to see what the current rates are and what the trends are. You know that the vacancies are low, you know there are plenty of tenants around, but you also know that your market is the kind of market that doesn't necessarily want to secure long-term leases. Sometimes the opportunity to get a month-to-month lease can come at a slightly higher cost to the tenant.
And that website that Margaret mentioned, sqmresearch.com.au, with Louis Christopher. In fact, Louis is a guest on our show from time to time.
Excellent. Well, he'll be glad that I gave him a plug then, won't he? I hope he gives me a plug.
I'm sure, I'll make sure he does.
Make sure he does. Yeah. Great.
Margaret Lomas there from destinyfinancialsolutions.com.au.